Good evening, everyone. This is TK Kugler from Wasabi Venture Stables, and we have a really fun special evening tonight where we get to meet somebody that's on our team, and it's even more exciting. I've known this person. I think I was thinking about it today, Adam. I think I met you almost 8 years ago. At this point,
You were a young man then.
I was a young man. I was good looking then.
Yeah,
As a matter of fact, that's how long ago that was.
that was a
So
long time ago.
yeah, that was a long time ago. So, but tonight we have the great pleasure. We have Adam Parker. Adam is, as I've already alluded to, Adam and I and Adam has worked with Wasabi. He's probably starting 8 years ago when we started working sales together. 2-year-old sales was probably our first endeavors together. And over that time, Adam, who's based in Ocala, which in Florida, which we'll hear about here in a couple seconds, Adam has done a variety of things with us. Everything from uh, um, taking a tour of all of our training facilities with me at one point, working a variety of different types of sales, 2-year-olds, yearlings, and he's even foaled out one of our mares at one point. So thank you and welcome, Mr. Adam.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you for the kind words.
Yep.
And it's certainly been a pleasure and a wonderful experience working with you from day one. Even the driving experience was memorable.
Yes. For those of you who have driven with me, you understand exactly what he's alluding to. Adam still talks about my ability to multitask and drive at the same time, or a lack thereof, I suppose. So, but let's. People always love this question in horse racing, and I think it's a great place to start, Adam, as we learn about you. How did you get the horse racing bug, and how did it start, and where did you grow up, and how did those pieces all come together?
Well, I was born and raised in a suburb of Buffalo, New York. And my parents and I moved to Florida, to Gainesville, where I attended the University of Florida with the expressed written intent of attending vet school there. And I put myself through all the preliminary classes. I graduated with a degree. And then under the advice of some veterinarians that I knew, looked at the financial endowments that were available and the responsibilities that were going to be a burden after graduation, and decided to take my degree and go to work on a horse farm here in Ocala.
And
So,
and you started, what kind of original farm was that? That was that breaking babies on the foaling side, where on the breeding side, what kind of farm?
it's a full function operation, and I started working for Leverett and Linda Miller. Mr. Miller is a nephew of C.B. Whitney. Mrs. Whitney is his aunt, and I started my career there foaling mares, night watching, working from 6 p.m. to 7 a.m., 7 days a week, and I thought it was the best job in the world. And we foaled 80 to 100 mares a year I did that for 25 years. I think I've probably foaled personally right at 1,500 mares, but I had the opportunity to work in the breeding shed and in the foaling barn. And then when that season was over, I moved to the training barn where I worked as a groom. And I did that, just kind of worked my way up the ladder to managerial status. And then I took over the training. And Mr. Miller decided to retire, and he handed the reins of T-Square Stud over to me. And that's where we are today.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, and so you'll see Adam will you'll often see things running under the T squared name. If you see the T squared silks, and you'll see signs for T squared, that's Adam, and I suppose your wife too, officially. It falls into that
When
somehow.
you live on the farm, it certainly is a family. I mean, AJ helps too. He empties
Yeah.
buckets and cleans chicken coops and fixes boards. So when you're in the middle of the farm, and you know that as well as I do now, it is
Yeah.
you're on duty 7 days a week.
Yep. Yep. So, and you're currently at Nelson T. Jones. Not only currently, but like right this split second, you're at Nelson T. Jones.
Yes,
Just
I've been in this barn for 17 years, and it's barn number 5. It's a beautiful barn. It's at the end of a nice drive. I'm looking at the racetrack out the end of the barn. Currently, I'm the only tenant here. I have 36 stalls, and I'm 4 miles from home. When we moved our main operation, we moved it close to here so that I could come here in the evenings. And when I found this was going to be at 6:30 at night, this is a little earlier than I come, but I thought it would be neat to do it from here.
Yep. Nope, that's perfect. That's perfect. So thinking about how your career has evolved in racing, and you really have done the entire gambit, soup to nuts, really, that could be done. So a lot of what you do today, a lot of what your operation centers around is prepping horses to get back to the track, either that being a layup situation, or like in how most of what you have with us, babies that you're getting from a variety of people for breaking. What part of the job do you like the most?
Well, I would say they all offer a different appeal, but this time of year, with the yearlings arriving, and I get a lot of yearlings from the same mares, from the same clients year after year. And it's wonderful to see this year's fill in the blank. I love to see this year's full out of slated, or this year's full out of any other mare. But then I get a whole group in from Keeneland or Claiborne. And I would say that this is probably my favorite time of year, starting the babies. They're all different. They've all had a different upbringing. Some of them are almost fresh from the field. Others have been in sales prep and had everything done to them, from the dentist to the shoes. I have horses arriving with 4 shoes on. So I would say that this time of year is probably my favorite. I love working with the young horses and starting them off on the right foot. There's a lot of satisfaction in hearing feedback when I send 2-year-olds to the racetrack, how much the trainers appreciate them acting properly and being behaved and professional. It's really gratifying. This is the big time of year for me, to be honest.
Yep. Yep. And I'm going to take a tangent here, because this is something you and I have talked about. We met because of working 2-year-old sales together.
Yeah.
And you have seen the same evolution around 2-year-old sales, and we have come to the same conclusion that we just don't like that process. And in many ways, it's interesting because that's how we first met.
Yes.
Sitting in Ocala all day watching breeze up sales together, watching 3,000 horses go through doing a breeze, right? And just sitting there all day for multiple days watching them.
Yeah.
Talk to me about, so that people know that it's not just that I say these things. What's your take on the 2-year-old sale process, and what you think of it, and the evolution over that time that you've been a part of it?
Well, I will say that, excuse me, when I started taking horses to the 2-year-old sales many years ago, decades ago, honestly, we worked horses in pairs, believe it or not. If I took 11 horses to the sale, I found someone else in the barn to go with my odd horse. And we open galloped. And if you went in 24, the guy who you paired your 11th horse up with was meeting you back at the barn to give you an earful. We didn't go, we just went strong. Everybody went 24-2, 25, and it was all about how the horse moved and the horse itself. Now, obviously, it's 180 degrees different. But I think the big difference I see personally is, and I'm at a public training facility, it's a beautiful situation. A mile, well cared for racetrack, 7/8 mile turf course, wonderful amenities, beautiful turnout paddocks. And I'm going to say that 75% of the horses that train here are going to the sales. And I'm sad, it hurts me to say it, that a lot of the people that work with those horses don't like horses anymore. They may as well be preparing cars for the Indy 500. I see it with the riders, and I see it with how they're treated in the barn. And I'm not saying they're abused, but they certainly are treated with less of a caring hand, is that's as far as I'll go. But I think the care that's given to the horses that go to the sale is given oftentimes by someone who cares more about how long the mane is than how the horse is feeling. None of these guys are here at night. I come here every night and I walk around the barn and I can tell by where the horses are in the barn how they're feeling. I start preparing tomorrow's training list when I go home tonight from here because I see how everybody's doing. And I don't really see that happening that much anymore. There's been I think a lowering in the bar of people that are preparing horses for the races. And it pains me to say that because they're my colleagues and my friends, but it's kind of what I see.
Yep. And thanks for sharing that. It's you and I have talked about that many times over the last couple of years. And obviously, we stopped participating in 2-year-old sales.
So did I.
And so we're at a place, which is a great segue, where we're either breeding our own yearlings and, and home breeding, what is going to be our racing stock, or buying yearlings who, we're going to be able to do the process. Right.
Yes.
And so you just got a batch of 5 yearlings.
I did.
just got a batch of 5 yearlings in from us that we bought in Keeneland in rapid succession. Over the first week of the sale, we spent a few dollars and brought some yearlings in. Let's go through them a little bit and just get your thoughts and reactions to them so far. But let's start with overall this batch of 5. What is your sort of take and thoughts just at sort of the highest level of these 5 that you got in, these 5 fillies?
Well, first of all, it's nice to get a batch of horses in like that. And granted, they all went through the sale, but they're all very healthy. You don't always get healthy horses arrive. This is a very healthy group of horses, and they should be. They were prepared for the sale properly, and everything they had done to them was done right. Of the 5, I think I have one horse that wants to be a little nervous in the stall, so we've already taken care of that. But as a group, physically, very correct. Some already show a lot of athleticism. Standing still, they look like athletes. Others obviously have a little maturing to do. But all in all, good bone, very correct. And for 5 fillies, and I'm not sexist, but they're all very sane. They're a very nice group mentally. And that's not always the case. And that's one of the hardest things to work with, is a horse that has a little bit of an issue mentally. It's a challenge.
Yep, absolutely. So let's run through them in a little more detail on each one. Let's start with, and we'll try to do these in order that they came in to you.
Okay.
The Essential Quality Sweet Talking filly, which was the very first one, and I think we bought that out of book 1 at Keeneland and came into you.
Yeah, she that sweet potato, that's her nickname in the barn. Not just because she's kind of shaped. She's a thick girl. She is outside right now. She goes out until about 8:30 tonight, then she'll be back in. She is already under tack, being ridden without being led from the barn to the round pen, just putting a mouth on her, getting her to turn left and right. But she is already has had a lot of hands-on. Obviously, when they go through the sale, they're used to being touched everywhere. That takes a lot about. And she's already very trusting. Breaking horses is tricky because it's unnatural for a horse to have weight on its back. They're a prey animal. That to them is a natural cause for flight or fight. She's been very cooperative. I like her a lot.
I know you sent me a note maybe the first day just how much you liked her mind.
Yes.
Yeah.
When they come off the truck, we walk them for 15 minutes or so. and she wanted to stop and visit with every single horse in the barn. Fillies do that a lot. Again, I'm not sexist, but they tend to be chatty. She touched noses with every horse in the barn. When she went in her stall, she checked all the corners, looked in the feed tub, which was empty, and then went right over and started eating hay. Very professional, and she's a love. She's a very nice filly to be around. She goes out of her way not to step on your feet, which sounds like a joke, but she is respectful of your space. If that's natural or been taught, she's not afraid to be close to you, but she knows how close to be. So she's really well-mannered and very smart.
Yep. That's awesome. Let's talk about the Nyquist Dance with Doves filly.
Could have saved her for last. She's my favorite. She is my favorite filly on just about every scale. A little more challenging. She's a little sharper and a little, I don't want to say edgy, but she is very alert all the time. She hears something and she's going to investigate it. I think I sent you a picture with Jaime on her back today. Yeah. So she's being ridden in the stall. She's being led and jogged in the shed row with tack on, but no rider on in the shed row yet. To me, physically, and I'm here for the whole process, so I see them when they get on the van. I shipped out a couple first thing this morning to Gulfstream, and I like them to be perfect when they leave. That's everybody's goal, I'm sure. But she, to me, has the least to do to change the way she looks. She is immaculate. I love her. She's athletic, and she looks like she's going to be very streamlined when she gets fit.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. I thought she looked a little turfy too. I don't know what Nyquists aren't necessarily always turfy, but I thought she felt a little turfy to me when I saw her the first time.
When I guess I'm always wrong. And the nice thing about this training center is she will be on the turf. And before she breezes, I'll gallop her on the turf. And the riders that work for me have been with me for many years. And if they're no better on the turf, at least we know that now. But I will find out if she's a turf horse. But she, to me, when you say we're going to her, she's my favorite every day. I think she's a knockout.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's fun. That's fun. Let's talk about the Blame Adler filly.
Yeah.
What you think?
I love Blame as a sire. I love Blame as a broodmare sire. I've had 2 Blame training horses come through. Neither went to the sale. They both went to the racetrack. One went to France and is a Group 3 winner. And I've had very good luck with Blame. I find that they tend to be immature when they're young. And they have every right to be. And they have a steady progression to maturity. I don't see them being immature 1 month in November, and then in December they look like adults. It's a slow progression, but again, she has a perfect frame. Her butt's 4 inches higher than her withers. She's getting ready to grow, but another very smart filly. I like her a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
She gets the stall that only good horses get. She's in the last stall on the end across from the wash rack because she doesn't bother people when they come around the corner. She's a very nice filly. She's really kind, and Lola moved her into that stall because she doesn't bother with anybody. That's where bad horses never go in that stall because they're always in trouble. So she's a nice filly. She's average size and above average in every other category.
That's awesome. Yeah. Yeah. I actually think she's going to grow a good bit, actually. Yeah. I think when we talk about her 6 months from now, when she's like close to heading to the track or whatever the case may be, I think we're going to have a totally different conversation about her 6 months.
And she's very pretty. She'll be very photogenic body-wise when she is an adult. She's got a beautiful, big, kind eye. And you know what? Actually, all of them do. They all have an intelligent look and a kindness about their eye. I got a colt in that's not that way, but these fillies are all, and I think that may be part of your curb appeal. I think these fillies, when they came out, you wanted to like them because they have that look of intelligence.
Yeah.
And you're going to run them, not sell them when they go 9-4. So that matters.
100%. Yeah. I mean, that's, oh, and in addition, I mean, all of these two of these um, are perfect fits for our breeding program because of the families and everything else that makes up of them.
Oh
The
boy.
other the other three all have a chance to earn their way in,
Yes.
given what's there. So they were part of our purchasing was specifically looking for that generational story, right? I mean, obviously that's part of our story. Let's get to one of my favorite names, the Go-Go Jojo filly, Honor
Yeah.
AP's. What you
Go
think?
Jojo. Okay. She is she's just like Jojo Siwa, that little thing that was on TV 5 years ago. She's a pip. She is, if anything's missing in the shed row, that's the first place Benjamin goes. She takes brooms in her door, rub rags in her door. If you leave anything close to the door, then it goes in hers. She's in this stall because it's the easiest one to get to when stuff disappears. So hay string, um, broomsticks, pitchfork, rub rags, everything has been in her stall at one point or another. And she is probably only a little smaller than average. She's the smallest filly that you sent,
Yep.
but she's not small. I mean, she is just a little smaller than average. And she's a later foal. I think she'll grow into it, but she doesn't need to. You didn't buy a single horse that we need this to happen for the horse to be okay. That's a nice group of horses. We don't need for her to have a giant growth spurt to be acceptable. She's already okay. But everybody likes her. But she is a troublemaker. You have to know that. Wherever she goes, she is going to cause somebody to smile and someone to cuss. That'll happen.
Yeah. Yes. Well, that's good. That's we all need characters, I suppose.
Yeah.
I don't know I don't know if we've talked about this, Adam, or not, but the breeder of this filly is Jen Royce, who was the executive of Retired Racehorse, and Dr. Stuart Brown, who is the head vet at Keeneland. And Dr. Brown actually foaled out all of the dams in this family 4 dams back.
Oh my.
So he actually has foaled out every single dam on the female line all the way back to the 5th dam here.
Well, he's had pretty good luck. So if he foaled her,
yeah,
hopefully she falls in line with the rest.
Yep. Yeah, it's an old Millridge family. He used to be the vet at Millridge, and so it's an old Millridge family there.
Well, and my Benjamin asked me, "Is this you?" So I couldn't understand why he was saying it. Is this you? I said, "Is what me?" I have the Sawyer on the page and it says Honor AP. Well, I signed things AP. So he thought that was great. I said, no, they didn't buy her because of that. That just happens to be. So I'm thinking about changing the stall card around a little bit to make it a little clearer.
A little clearer. That's not you. Yeah, that is funny. And that would be a great coincidence if you were actually if Honor AP was named after you, though. That would be
it's a rare coincidence, believe me.
So let's talk about the frosted Perfect Pegasus.
Peggy. Yep. Another big strapping filly. Really nice. I like her physically. She's the running back kind of horse. Tuck the ball up, short coupled, very strong. Very strong. But again, a really good mind, a very good eater. And she is also already being ridden to and from the round pen. She's being led. Benjamin leads her with Luis Honor, but all these horses have riders on their back already. But I do like her a lot. To me, she looks like she's going to be fast. But again, I'm always wrong. I always say the short coupled horse that's 15-3 is going to be a speedball. And then Arnaud Delacour runs him a mile in the turf the first time and a mile and 16th the second time. He breaks his maiden as a 2-year-old going a mile and 16th on the turf. So I'm always wrong.
Yes. Well, the beauty of this game is I think we're all almost always wrong. That's what's the allure of it too. At the same time,
it's hard to tell by structure how a horse is going to run. In the round pen, at a jog and a canter, you first get a glimpse of how they're going to move. And some horses you just, oh my. I mean, you get goosebumps. You get goosebumps watching them. Others, you go, ugh, because you don't get to see them do anything but walk before you buy them. I get to see mine run around the field, so I already got some yucks. But these here, when they get cantering out in the round pen, you're going to know a lot more. And when they get out on the racetrack, then you'll really kind of get an idea. But again, healthy, sound, really well balanced horses came on those trucks.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Now you've got some other horses of ours right now. Another in this crop and a boy, the 2023 Street Boss Zarella colt. You've also got.
Yeah.
You've had him for a while because he came out of the January sale, then we bought him back.
Nobody believes that he's a yearling on the racetrack. And there's an oak tree down at the racetrack that apparently was a sapling 17 years ago, and I talked so much crap underneath it that it's grown this much. But when people see him come down the bridle path, oftentimes solo, back up to the top of the lane and turn around and gallop a mile, and he comes off and I say that's a yearling, 70% of the people don't believe me.
Yeah.
He holds a candle physically to any of the sales horses that you bought. He's a beautiful animal. He's as big or bigger, thicker for sure, maybe because he's a colt. But certainly as far as leg, bone, conformation, size, and temperament, he's got everything they have. He's a really, really grand horse.
That's super. It just goes to show you sometimes I couldn't let that horse go. If I would have got one more tick of a bid, he would have been gone, and I wouldn't let him go for the price that he was. And that's really, you get those.
Well, and now you couldn't have replaced him for that.
That's exactly
right.
Really?
No, not really.
That was the exact conversation I had with Price Bell when we set the reserve. I said, I'm not going to let it go for 25 because I can't replace him for 25.
Right,
so,
and now that's definitely been confirmed.
Yeah,
you'd have paid double at least for him at Keeneland for that.
Absolutely,
he's a beautiful grand colt. He really is quite a nice animal, and again, really good-minded. I mean, I sent a picture to Jesse, maybe a video. He said, Adam, he's by himself doing that. He's really confident and a very grand horse.
That's super. That's really super. That's wonderful to hear. Sometimes when you buy, you've done this a long time. And when you set those reserves and you bring a horse home, there is something that's deflating about it, right?
Oh,
because you obviously went to the sale, because you had a vision of what could happen here, right?
Right.
Because there's an expense to it and the emotional element of it as well. When you bring them home because you have such a firm belief and it plays out positively, it's got to be it feels so like rewarding to know that so far I've done the right thing here.
Yeah. Well, and that's part of the mantra here. The main thing we strive for when we break horses is to teach them to do the right thing because they know it's the right thing to do. We want our horses to stand still when they get tacked up because they know that's what they're supposed to do, not because they're afraid to move. Because if they accidentally move, then they panic because they don't know what comes next. And it takes a little longer to teach them how to do something and why they're doing that than it does. And that falls back on the pin hookers. They don't have time to spend a week teaching a horse to walk onto the wash rack. They don't bring out a bucket of feed the first 3 days. They bring out a buggy whip the first 5 minutes. And then the horse is afraid every time he walks on the wash rack that something bad's going to happen to him if he doesn't. And when a horse makes a mistake, our horses look to the rider for a solution rather than dump the rider and run like their hair's on fire until someone catches them and brings them back down to earth. It's just a different mindset.
Yeah. It's not to beat the proverbial dead horse here, but it's why I wrote about it a lot. I've written a lot about it to the club, it's just why I can't stomach the 2-year-old sales process. And it's not just the breeze up aspect of it. It is what went in to get to that point that you're trying to do a sub 10-second sprint. I mean, what has to happen to the horse? It's not bad in every case.
No,
There are plenty of horses, and there are even people who do it in many ways the quote unquote right way. But because it is, I can't, I can't know who is or isn't anymore. I have to let the whole thing go, is kind of where I left it.
well, the odds are against you. If you have 1,200 horses in a 2-year-old sale in March, maybe 200 of those horses could do that without um, without artificial encouragement, let's say. So that means 1,000 horses are going to that sale because, damn it, they're going to the sale. They don't have an option. And of those 1,000 that probably shouldn't be in that sale or aren't quite ready, like you have a May sale at Timonium, much more logical than a March sale here. But for those 1,000 that probably could have waited for another sale, half of them come out of that sale dizzyingly silly. And half of those need 60 days off to get their feedback under them. And some of them don't ever get their feedback under them. And that's the way it goes. That's what it's become. And I'm not jaded on the 2-year-old sales. I have friends that do it, and I've seen it done right. For a while, I had one of the lowest sales averages at OBS and the highest average earnings because my horses didn't go 9-4. They went 10-2.
Right.
But they ran 90 days after the sale and did well.
Right.
Because they were brought there the right way and they could go on after the sale.
Yeah.
So I don't like the sales anymore and they don't like me.
Yeah, I understand. Let's talk about the last one, and this one's in a different bucket because we sent this one down a year older, but in many ways mentally or physically in the same place of Blow by the Field.
Oh boy. She is she's hard to describe. She came from Jody, right?
Yep.
I got 4 horses in from Jody today. They all benefited from her unbelievable care. Blow by the Field came in and still looks like a Russian runway model. She is the most beautiful big filly that I think I've ever seen. It's hard to believe she's 2. She is probably a little bigger than when Jesse saw her last. Her legs are tight. Her ankles are tight. You guys afforded her the extra time because she is big. She is not smart. She is not a problem solver. She doesn't make mistakes, but if you leave her door open, it's 5 minutes before she notices. Okay. I mean, she's not gonna fix the plumbing. She's not a smart horse, but physically she's doing everything we want to do and wants to do more than we let her. And that's really all we can ask. She's doing great. I think that if the schedule works out right, she is going to be moved here in the next 2 weeks. If that's still the plan.
That's still the plan,
yeah.
And given pedigree here, she may be one that loves the synthetic in the early fall, winter that's at Turfway, right? I mean, so it could be a really interesting winter debut for her here. So.
She is so good looking. Cat people would like her. That aren't people that don't like horses or don't know horses. When you bring her out, mouths open. She is just she's very impressive because she's so big. And she's a little intimidating, but she's so gentle and so fluid the way she moves around. I guarantee you when you see her, you can't help but grin. She is the most beautiful big filly I think I've ever had in here.
Every foal that we have gotten out of that mare, Seville's Princess,
yeah,
has been the same kind of beautiful physical horse, and they've all been able to run. That's the other thing.
I
Which
can't
is,
see her being any different, and she does like the turf.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think it's going to be. I think it'll be fun. So we walked through those five. Let's talk a little bit about, or we walked through all seven. Let's talk just a little bit about the process for the yearlings, because you have 6 yearlings total, right? You know, with
Six
surround
of
with the
yours. Yep.
yep. So yeah, absolutely. 6 with the what's the timing, let's say, for the fourth quarter here, you know, for between now and December 31st. What's the normal progression for those 6 horses in the next 3 months?
Okay, so the 5 that came from the sale will be most within a 10-day window of each other. I think when the first 1 or 2 go to the track, the last one that goes to the track won't be more than a week or 10 days behind. Nobody has any hurdles to get past you. I don't see any physical or mental hurdles. So, and I'm going to say from the first day the rider presents himself to the horse in the stall, within 6 weeks, that horse is normally on the racetrack. So we spend a week or so in the stall, and the shed row another week, and then the round pen for maybe 2 weeks, where we take them out in pairs and we jog them with each other. It's haytime now. And then we go against the grain and they pass each other going the wrong way, and the riders will grab the other horse's bridle and pony him around. Then we move out to the other side of the farm to the grass gallop. That'd be probably, I'm going to say probably day 25 from when the rider starts in the stall. We'll spend a week or 10 days on the grass gallop, getting them a little bit fitter. And then we'll let them look at the racetrack, and then we'll move them down. So probably 40 to 45 days from day 1 with the rider to stepping foot on the racetrack for the first day.
And given you're in Florida, which is one of the reasons we're there, besides obviously working with you, weather, except for hurricanes, is less of
We
an
missed
issue.
we missed 1 day of training.
For that. Okay.
That was all we missed.
Yeah. Weather doesn't tend to have the same impact, let's say, in other parts of the country, from a training perspective. You don't really see that as much as we may see that in other places, correct?
No, my snow gauge has never moved off 0.
Okay.
I don't take horses out when it's below freezing. We go out. If it gets below 28, we tend to stay in the shed row, only because we're not to the point where we're between races and can't afford to miss a day galloping on the racetrack. But I'm going to say throughout the winter, we may miss visiting the racetrack maybe 5 or 6 mornings when it's just so cold that exercising being out in the cold is one thing, but exercising and making them breathe heavy when it's 22, 25 degrees, that's not the best scenario for us, because they never have a chance to get used to it. Exposing it to them once or twice over a month period, to me, this doesn't seem like that good of an idea. So we're not very often affected by weather at all.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it's one of the great advantages, right, of Ocala. And for sure. If let's and this next question gets into the fuzzy area, and meaning it's less exact science here. What's the determining end point for the yearlings? Meaning next year, as a 2-year-old, when do they leave you and head to, and how does that process work generally, to leave you and then head, let's say, to Jesse next? How does that process go?
Well, I think that would be a conversation that we would have, you, Jesse, and I. I don't ever like to send a finished horse to a trainer. It doesn't matter how old they are, unless I'm sending it back to the same trainer. I think it's important for whoever receives the horse at the racetrack to see what trajectory the horse is on. If you send a finished horse to the racetrack, Jesse won't know whether they have a little improving to do, how fast they are improving, if they're improving, or if they're on a decline. So my goal would be to have all the significant gate work done here, which would mean walking through an open gate, standing in an open gate, closing up in a gate, walking out, closing up in the gate, jogging away, and then finally maybe break 4 times. So that when they get to Jesse, when they walk in the gate, they know what they're going to do. And they'll stand quietly until he asks them to do it. So I would like to work them from the gate, maybe get them up to 2-minute licking, a half a mile, 3 times, at which point Jesse could get them and say start them within, I'd say 45 days, but really realistically it would probably be 60. But I think it's important for Jesse to see them finish to race ready. I think that last 60 days is really important for whoever's going to enter that horse and know where to enter them, to see exactly where they are. And if they're still improving, say, listen, I'm going to start off a maiden special weight race. We may not be there, but if after this race, we may be ready. And Jesse's, he's that kind of guy. He gets on him. He knows.
Yep. Yeah. It's an interesting perspective there. Because I've heard others who break babies go both ends of that extreme. I've heard and seen where I've heard I only send a finished product. Yeah. And I've heard I don't even get close to a finished product because, it's not really my job, so to speak.
That, to me, that's a cop-out.
Yes.
I think it is my job. I get horses here ready, my horses. I'll do race and return to Tampa. We can certainly have a horse ready to run. I mean, from the gate and be competitive at Tampa. I go down to Tampa and I expect to be in the money right from here. Then we come home. But I think it's a respectful thing to do as well. And trajectory doesn't just mean how fast the horse is going. It's the progress getting there. And I think I don't think you can send a finished product to a trainer and expect him to know that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Jesse can't breeze a horse twice and know what he has. I mean, I could ship my horse. He could breeze it a week later, wait a week, breeze it again, meaning he had the horse 2 weeks. And I would never expect anybody to know what they had in 2 weeks. Right. How could you?
No. It's not possible, right?
No. I think that last 60 days with the person at the racetrack is integral to getting the horse in the right race to start.
Right. Besides the fact that a racetrack has its own rhythm for a horse, right? Just from a mental standpoint, it has a different rhythm than working off of a training track. There's different noises, there's different level of noises, the timing is different, all of those things.
And nothing is routine with horses. There is no routine castration. There is no routine ride to Miami. Anything can happen anytime. I'm still the benefit of having 9 big grassy turnout paddocks. When the horses go to the racetrack, all that ends. They may have a round pen with sand and bars, but they don't get to go eat grass and roll in the sand and try to colic when I'm not looking. When they get to the racetrack, they're either in a stall or on the end of a rope. That's a big life change. That's a huge change. Some horses handle it really well, but that again, that's 60 days. A horse has more to do in that 60 days than just stay fit and show the trainer where he's at. He's got a whole new environment to adapt to, and you expect him to perform when he's adapting. I don't know that that's fair to the horse or the trainer.
Yeah, no, I don't think so either. I won't mention him by name, but you and I have a friend that's a trainer, who once trained for us, who told me if I get a horse off of a young horse off of breaking and I can't start it in 2 weeks, then the guy didn't do his job. Yeah. So I bet you know who I'm talking about, but I had him tell me that one time, and when you hear you explain it, it makes perfect sense that would not be the end result. I think the other thing that we always talk about is that the pieces all have to work together. You talked about Jody. You texted me today about Jody. Jody is an important part of the puzzle. No different than you are, and then Jesse is. The pieces all have to work together because at any given point, they're the most important part of the puzzle, but you don't have a chain unless you have all of them.
No, and no one person in that team could do everything the other teammates do. That's what makes a good team. You let each person take care of their part and work well together. The transition from one person to the next, you guys at Keeneland, to me here in Florida, from me here to Jesse at the racetrack, and then Jesse to the races and rehab, recondition, they get a rest, whatever. All those transitions are almost as important as where they land.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. 100% the case. In our last handful of minutes, Adam, if you could think about the single most important aspect of training a young horse, what's the single, if you crystallized it down to one thing, if that's even possible, but what's the crystallization aspect of training a young horse?
Well, I don't know if it would be one word. I would say if you can gain the horse's trust and respect, and I say respect in a way where they know that you're the boss, but they're not afraid of the boss. They're willing to take the lead from the guy who's teaching them what to do, and the guy that keeps them safe when something bad happens. Something bad will happen to every horse while you're holding it, whether it's a car backfiring, a horse kicking the wall. It's going to scare the bejeebers out of whatever you got on the end of the shank. They need to go to you to figure out what to do. I would say if you can gain the horse's trust and respect, everything else is, you'll get the best out of every horse. Let's say that. Maximum potential is gained through trust and respect. But in return, you have to do the same thing with the horse. You have to trust that he'll do what you asked him to do and be confident that he'll follow you when you need him to, and respect the horse. Make sure he's well fed, clean water, fresh hay, feet are good, clean bedding, and time to be a horse outside. You add those things together, and I think you have a recipe to make horses perform. You can't make a great horse out of a plug, but you can make a fast plug out of a plug.
That's very well said. Well, first of all, I want to thank you for taking the time to do this. I think it's been fabulous. I think
it's just getting dark. I'm starting to look good.
Yes. Yes. And just think how good we're going to look in another 8 years or so, when we do this, when we have to do another one of these, I mean, we'll look good 8 years from now. So.
Well, maybe we'll have some kind of Zoom celebration in Kentucky. I
Yes.
sent your wife a cartoon that my wife sent me of me sitting on a stool with a tie on, which gave me pause to figure out who that was, with all of your horses around me, and 3 chalkboards in the back, and it said Breeders' Cup, Kentucky Derby, and Kentucky Oaks on it. And my wife said, "That's what you need to shoot for. Send that to TK." I said, "Okay, I'll do it." But I sent it to Michelle. I figured it was a little safer audience.
Yeah,
you chose the right person. You picked the smarter one of the two.
Okay. I won't tell her anything about that, but
yeah. Fair enough. Well, Adam, thanks for your time tonight. Really appreciate it. I'm really excited to have you as part of the team. I've always loved our times together, and it's also great that we were able to get some, I think, really nice horse flesh to you as well, which is
well, I've gotten a lot of horses from Kentucky, from Keeneland and from Claiborne, from breeders. This group of fillies is, if I could have to pick, I would have guessed if there was 10 people on a list that you picked them out. They're consistently good looking, well put together, and a real variety. And that's not easy to do considering those first 2 boxes are checked. It's a really eclectic, nice group of horses. Really well done. You and Jesse did a wonderful, wonderful job. You should get a lot of credit for that. I know you're not big on patting yourself on the back, but you guys did a really, really good job.
Thanks. Well, let's hope they run like it too. So
yeah, will make us all look smart.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, thank you for the time, my friend. We'll talk soon.
You're very welcome. Good night, everybody.
All right. Bye-bye.